It is claimed by Christian missionaries that these verses constitute a prophetic reference to Jesus. There is absolutely no truth to this contention. The Hebrew noun navi, or prophet, is used generically here, which means broadly speaking, and does not at all refer to any particular prophet. A sixth prophecy, Deuteronomy 21:23, says, quote, "His body shall not remain all night upon the tree, but thou shalt bury his body that day. For he that is hanged is accursed of God." Unquote. This isn't messianic because A, Jesus was crucified. He wasn't hanged. B, how could Jesus be accursed of God? The perfect being is accursed. And C, the prior verse, Deuteronomy 21:22 says, "If a man has committed a sin worthy of death, and he be put to death, and thou hang him on a tree." Unquote. It's pronouncing sentence on a man who actually committed a sin, who couldn't be Jesus, since his followers claim he was sinless. Deuteronomy 21:23 is an excellent example of Biblicist taking a verse out of context. The seventh prophecy, 2 Samuel 7:12-13, says, quote, "I," that is God, "will set up thy seed," thy refers to David, "after thee, which shall proceed out of thy bowels, and I will establish his kingdom. He shall build a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever." Unquote. This is not applicable to Jesus because A, the kingdom of Jesus is yet to be established at all, much less forever. And B, the next verse, 7:14, says, quote, "If he commit iniquity, I will chasten him with the rod of men and with the stripes of the children of men." Unquote. This clearly shows Jesus is not being discussed, since there is no possibility of him committing iniquity. God would certainly not imply that his perfect Son, Jesus, could or would sin and need to be punished. We're dealing here with another verse being taken out of context. The eighth prophecy, 1 Chronicles 17:11-12, says, quote, "It shall come to pass when thy days," it's talking about David's days, "be expired, that thou must go to be with thy fathers, that I will raise up thy seed after thee, which shall be of thy sons, and I will establish his kingdom." Unquote. The difficulties with this quotation are A, David's seed couldn't be Jesus because the seed was to be a son of David, and Jesus was not one of his sons. He was merely a distant descendant. And B, even more importantly, it says the seed would appear, quote, "when thy days be expired." The seed was to appear when David died, not 1,000 years later when Jesus appeared. The ninth prophecy, Psalm 2:2, says, quote, "The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against his anointed." Unquote. The anointed in this case allegedly refers to Jesus. But this isn't messianic for two reasons. A, when did the kings of the earth set themselves against Jesus? They knew nothing about him, nor did they have any hand in his death. They probably didn't even know he lived or died. And B, David is the anointed being referred to, not Jesus. According to 1 Samuel 16:3 and 12:13, David was the chief anointed of Israel by the express command of God. The 10th prophecy, Psalm 2:7, says, quote, "The Lord said to me, Thou art my son, this day have I begotten thee. Unquote. The problems with this are, A, the son referred to is David, not Christ, as 2 Samuel 7:14 shows. The psalmist David is speaking of himself. And B, the Father must be prior in time to the Son. Otherwise, the words have no meaning. Yet how could Jesus have a less than eternal lifespan, as the word begotten implies? How could Jesus be begotten, since that would mean Jesus, who is allegedly God, was created after the beginning of time, not at the beginning of time? As Siegel said on page 87 in his previously cited work, quote, in the Christian missionary search for biblical proof of the belief in Jesus as the Son of God, proof has often been found where none exists by violating the integrity of the plain meaning of many scriptural passages. Prominent among these is Psalm 2:7, wherein it is stated, quote, the Lord said to me, you are my son. Why would God have to inform Jesus, a fellow member of the Trinity, of the exact nature of their relationship? You mean he didn't already know? The verse then continues, this day have I begotten you. If Jesus is God, how could he have been begotten? Our 11th and final prophecy for today, Psalm 22, also most assuredly does not refer to Jesus as Christians allege.